No, I'm doing some freelancing.
I'm not sure.
This is a Minuteman III missile, and there are 3 nuclear warheads on this one missile. So there's an explosive device that blows off the lid to the missile silo, and then the missile is launched, and probably they could change the target for that missile for where it's supposed to go on a daily basis if they wanted to. That what happens then is they launch the missile, and then at a certain point as it gets close to its targets, then the 3 missiles will separate and the 3 warheads will go off to 3 individual targets. So you get 3 missiles in one. What has happened since 9/11 is that the United States is now adopting a policy of preemption, which means if we think that our national security is threatened by a weapon of mass destruction, we have the prerogative to strike first with either nuclear or conventional weapons. And Stratcom in Omaha is responsible for making those targeting decisions.
See the hatch right there?
Uh-huh.
That's a big hatch, and that's where the missile is. So the missile is underneath that, and so that hatch would come up, just like on a tank, you know, the very heavy armored hatch that would come up, and then the missile would rise out of there.
Puts the bodies in the bunker over there that come in. So.
And that's what we saw from the film, where they went to there, and that's what they were hitting with their hammers.
Pointing out that U.S. weapons of mass destruction, unless we do things like this, become invisible. All those years in federal prison, as a result of their symbolic action at this site. You know, I mean, otherwise, this is kind of an overall information packet. If you see where this fits into what we've been doing this week.
You come over here.
Got a map of the silos.
We're the most important prayer that we prayed on October 6, 2002. And we're going to do it first with you, and then we're hoping the second time you'll do it with us. Sacred the land, sacred the water, sacred the sky, holy and true, sacred all life, sacred each other, all reflect God who is good. Do it with us. Sacred the land, sacred the water, sacred the sky, holy and true, sacred all life, sacred each other, all reflect God who is good. Thank you. So we need to start a movement in this country, definitely to stop that fourth frontier that is designed by Vision for 2020, that does the whole domination, exploitation, control, ownership in outer space. Because the conviction of the United States, as you well know, I think, is that whoever dominates outer space, that fourth frontier, will control and dominate the universe. Now, you know we as peacemakers are mutual partners with all of creation. That every piece of life and creation affects every other. We're here right now, we're affecting the entire world by our presence here. Our movement, every movement goes across the world. Every pebble in a waterway goes across the world. So, you know, we need to start this movement of total nuclear disarmament. Stopping the domination in outer space, in the oceans, on the land, and in the sky. This is going to be the rest of my life. I join with you in it. and it's for the next generations. It's not necessarily for ourselves at this time. It's for the next generations, our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Hopefully this week I'm going to see my great or grand, I don't know what you call them, nephews. 6 of them I've never seen since I've been in prison.
I should be on there, but I'm not sure. I mean, we've done this different times and at different places.
Well, let's all sign it since we got it.
That's right.
And we'll just pass it around.
Anybody else with a reflection?
Our retired pastor in Flint, Michigan, was George Zabelka.
Oh, George.
George was an Army chaplain. George was the chaplain of the wing, the Catholic chaplain of the wing that dropped the atom bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. George, I think, recalls even blessing the Enola Gay before it took off. George then visited Hiroshima and Nagasaki shortly after the bombings, shortly after the end of World War II, and very shortly after the bombings. George was just utterly devastated and distressed by the killings, especially of civilians. George said, "These are civilians we have just incinerated and done away with." George then became an ardent disciple of peace. George took part in over a 7,000-mile walk across Europe. He preached the abolition of nuclear bombs and devices until his death. And so I hope somehow I can imbibe the spirit of George Zabelka, somehow carry it on, and I hope we all, Betty knew George too, I hope we can all carry on the wonderful spirit, the peaceful spirit. Dear George Zabelka.
I worked for the National Security Agency out of college. I had a top secret and cryptologic clearance, and the bases I was assigned were all the Soviet bases around Korea and to the north and to the south. And one night I broke a message that said North Korean airplanes were fighting American airplanes over North Korea. The American airplanes had gone over North Korea. So I broke the message and sent it up through channels, and the next day the Secretary of State of the United States commented on this, but said that the North Korean airplanes intercepted the American airplanes over South Korea. So I have never trusted military intelligence, having been in that field, knowing that you can break a message, get the truth, and the Secretary of State of the United States will tell everyone a lie. And that was one of my major experiences at the National Security Agency.
When they came back from the first Gulf War, they came to our house to show us their Arab garb, what they had done. They shared with us the sorties that they were part of. They shared with us. So, you know, we were very close to military personnel. We took care of their dogs when they left. We walked with them. When they left, they gave us all their food from their refrigerators. So we were one. We prayed at those bases every day. So when we closed the first base, we claim it because the press always said it was we were the responsible ones for closing it. We didn't. And all of Michigan people that organized did resistance on an ongoing basis at these bases. So when the SAC base closed at one of them in Lower Michigan in 1993, then we moved to the next SAC base, and then within 2 years, that we did the same thing. We organized, did resistance, you know, prayed every day at the base, and that one was closed in 1995. So between 1983 and 1995, we worked on making sure that those sack bases were closed. So every one of those bishops in Michigan knew that all their people from the pews were doing nonviolent civil resistance. We would have like 100 people at a time speaking the truth to the military personnel. Close down this base. Stop threatening to use these weapons of mass destruction on God's people. So today, Michigan is totally